A warm greetings to you all dear students. I am Rekha HG, Assistant Professor of History, GFGC, Vijayanagar, Bangalore. Today I will be explaining to you about the post Vijayanagara period to the third sem BA students. We will start with the session students. So objective of this particular session is to know about the post Vijayanagara state. After the downfall of Vijayanagara state, many small kingdoms were established, and one such a small kingdom is a Keladi Kingdom, and we'll be studying about the Keladi Kingdom and the revenue policy of Shivapanayaka, popularly known as Shivapanayakana Shistu. Okay, you can see this Shivpanayaka, and this is a place. Okay, and now who is Shivpanayaka? Shivpanayaka was the greatest ruler of the Nayakas of Keladi. He ruled between 1645 to 1660 AD. He was the most capable and courageous ruler of the Keladi dynasty. Before coming to the power, he had a vast experience in the field of administration, and he introduced a revenue policy called Shivapanayakana Shistu. Shivapanayakana Shistu is not concerned to the discipline of Shivapanayaka. Shivapanayakana Shistu meaning the land assessment policy introduced by Shivapanayaka for the benefits of the farmers. Okay, so Shivapanayakana Shistu, being a capable administrator, he revised the land revenue. So land revenue was a main source of income during those particular days. Agriculture was a major occupation. As such, he had to revise the land revenue. Earlier, the 1/6 of the produce was fixed as the land revenue. I mean to say, like how we pay the income tax, like that land revenue was paid by the farmers. The percentage that was fixed was 1/6 of the produce was fixed as a land revenue. So now he will reform the land revenue to increase the source of revenue to the government. So in order to compensate the administration and the war expenses, because there was continuous wars during those particular time, he brought about changes which were scientific, realistic and acceptable to all. And this was one of the best revenue systems introduced in the medieval Karnataka. It was, we get some information about from the historians that this experiment was better than the experiment made by Raja Todarmal during the Mughal period, and this experiment was accepted by our royals and the farmers. So he brought about scientific, realistic and acceptable changes in the cultivation. So now we have Shiopanaka's classification of cultivable land. Before fixing up the revenue, the lands were classified. He chose the fields in every village and got it cultivated at the expense of the government. Initially, when he started this particular Shiopanayakana Shistu, it was an experiment basis. So what he did was, he classified the land in every village and got it cultivated at the expense of the government to see what will be the rate of revenue in future. The official had to keep the account of the money spent on the seeds, tilling, manure, wages and the revenue was fixed in the yield. So to maintain the Shivapanayakana Shistu, he was very organized. So he wanted to know the account, the money spent on the seeds, tilling, manure. So he fixed one what he called record for that. This method continued in some places for about 5 years and some places for about 12 years. So he classified the land based on the fertility of the soil. The best soil, irrigated fertile land, was called Uttama. Irrigated fertile land meaning naturally fertile, where we get the perennial rivers or watered by the source, river source. So this land was called Uttama, and the tax that was fixed was 2 to 28 anna was fixed for this fertile land. Then the middle group, he classified the next source of land as a middle group that was known as reddish brown fertile land, Madhyama, and 2 to 10 hana was fixed for that. The least cultivable land, damp, black earth, Kanishta. We have next classification, barren land, rocky or soil Adama, 1 and 1/4. And then the most barren land was called Adama. Adama, 1 kasu was a tax fixed. So all the tax were not, all the lands were not taxed equally. The taxation varied based on the fertility of the soil. What was the rate of taxation that he fixed? How we cut the taxation? Land revenue itself. During this time, land revenue itself consisted of 7 items: shist or standard assessment. based on the standard assessment. Arevasi or one of the standard assessment is one type of taxation. Additional tax at 1 to 2 annas per gadyayana or shist. And next Sidhya, additional tax at the rate of 10 gadyayanas of shist. And also a dasoha, a charity cess was also collected from the people. Pagodi and extra cess levied as a percentage of shist for defending the kingdom against the Mughals. So, Patti SS levied as a percentage of cess to be paid as chow to the Marathas. A tax between 7 and 25 varahas was fixed for the 1,000 arcanate trees. Shivapanaika got royal land cultivated, kept the accounts of expenditure. Tax was fixed through amildars and safeguarded the interest of rights. So I mean to say he collected the taxation for different purposes. One was for the charity purposes, one was defending his kingdom against the Mughals, and other reason why he collected tax was to pay it as a chowth to the Marathas. That is a type of taxation to be paid for the. So we learn from this particular session, we learn about the revenue reforms in the medieval Karnataka initiated by Shivappa Nayaka, popularly known as Shivappa Nayaka